Hi there. Thanks for tuning in and listening. As we walk through the most significant health crisis we've had in the last century, our global leaders have decided to induce a global economic coma. Now, while in the coma, the leaders are actually working to figure out the best sources of life support for the economies, both in terms of monetary and fiscal provisions. Now, in the US, in addition to the Federal Reserve saying that they would do whatever it takes basically to maintain the order and the workings of the markets, the Congress actually passed this thing called the CARES Act. And I wanted to spend some time today and kind of go through some of the details of the CARES Act, explain some of the benefits and some of the things that may have to be revisited again in round 4, round 5 of recovery. So the first thing that the CARES Act does is it expands unemployment benefits. This is probably the most important piece of this legislation in terms of protecting those that are going to be unemployed. And I say expands because three things occur. Okay, the first thing that occurs is the eligibility is expanded. So people that are 1099 employees or sole proprietors or gig workers are all going to be eligible to partake in the expanded federal benefits, and this hasn't always been the case. The second thing is the duration is expanded, so the duration has gone to 39 weeks. The first 4 months of this, you're also going to get a $600 boost per unemployed person from the federal government. Now let's think about that for just a second. If you have, it's $600 per week boost. So if you have a $50,000 or less annual income, the normal unemployment benefits that cover 45% of your income, plus these $600 per week benefits actually may end up giving you a little bit of a raise for the next 4 months. At the same time, we see the direct one-time payments are going to be coming in, and those direct one-time payments are $1,200 per working individual, with a phase out starting at $75,000, and anyone that has an income over $90,000 won't get any benefit. And there's $500 per child in those families as well. So there's a chunk, one-time chunk coming in addition to the unemployment benefits, and that money is going to people that aren't unemployed. So at the same time, there's some cost savings. So every federally guaranteed student loan, there's going to be a payment pause. And it's not just a payment pause, there's also not going to be any additional accrued interest while payments aren't being made. And that's between now and September 30th of 2020. So no student loan payments for the federally guaranteed student loan programs, and no accrual of additional interest between now and September 30th of 2020. In addition, there's a mortgage relief section. So this is once again for the Fannie Freddie guaranteed mortgages. And that's a 180-day payment waiver with the possibility of an additional 180-day payment waiver. So we've now had an additional income streams, and we have some payment waivers. Now, there's one other piece to this that's actually really important, and that's the access to assets. So if you have an IRA or 401k, then you have and you're over 70 and a half, you have or 72 now, you have a required minimum distribution requirement. In 2020, that requirement is waived. In addition, if you are younger, you actually have access to up to $100,000 of your 401k, 403b, IRA, with the ability to either recontribute that money in terms of a rollover over the next 3 years, or if you won't ever be able to roll that money back in, you'll be able to spread the taxes over a 3-year period. So those benefits give you access to capital in addition to the unemployment benefits and in addition to the cost reduction benefits. Now, these three things are going to support individuals very, very well. I think that for the next 4 months, individuals are going to be pretty well taken care of, even if they're unemployed. But there's another subset of folks that I think we need to pay attention to. Big issues here. You know that I'm a huge fan of Saul's Deli. You also may know that I'm a minor partner in a retail game store in Concord, California, named Black Diamond Games. And in both of those cases, I'm assuming, I know in the game store, but I'm assuming for Saul's Deli, which closed its doors about a week ago temporarily, I'm assuming they've laid off many people, because for retail mom and pop shops and for game stores and for restaurants, the profit margins are so slim that they don't need a loan. They need a grant. And if they don't have a grant, then the question is, do I keep people on and maybe have the chance to reopen if I take on a whole bunch of additional debt but still owe on that debt? It seems it's a pretty rough situation for small businesses. So if there's one part of this legislation that will probably be revisited, I think it'll be this part. But specifically, there's two different programs. There's the Disaster Funding Relief Program, and my buddy Gary at Black Diamond Games has actually already applied, and he's already been notified that he will receive a loan. And the terms are very generous. There's 30-year terms. It's 3.75% interest for business. It's 2.75 for nonprofits. But he's received notification that he'll get more in terms of a loan than he's invested in this business over the last number of years. So he is going to take some of that money and he's going to build out. I think this is what he says. He's going to build out a much more well-functioning digital online store, specifically for the next 3 or 4 months, but that'll continue as an investment, as something that's a potential revenue generator for him for years to come. So he is going to take some of that money and use it for recovery. He's going to hire back a bunch of his staff, and he's going to build something out that's actually useful for the business. And you can multiply that times many, 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 many businesses. And I think we see some businesses fail, but I think there's a huge possibility for businesses to succeed here as well. The second program is actually a forgivable loan. It's the Paycheck, what's it called? It's called the Paycheck Protection Program. And as long as a business maintains 75% of their payroll, and if they maintain 75% of their payroll, then this loan will be forgiven up to 2.5 months of payroll plus 2.5 months of rent or mortgage payment plus 2.5 months of their utilities and sort of internet connection and those kinds of things. So you can get the survival of the business depends upon this 2.5 months of being shut down. Well, if you take this loan, maintain that payroll to 75%, the federal government is going to take this and forgive that cost to your business. That's a huge benefit that we're going to see people take advantage of. I don't think there's enough funding in that for all the businesses in the United States, so we'll probably see more funding in that in the fourth and the fifth segment of potential federal programs. So there's also benefits for large companies, and I want to talk about this really quickly, not spend a lot of time on it, but the big benefits are there's about $454 billion that's going to be administered by the Fed to support large businesses, publicly traded companies. Now the important thing there is it's administered by the Fed, and the Fed has a 10-to-1 leverage ratio, or has access to a leverage ratio, and the normal leverage ratio they use is about 10-to-1, which means this $450 billion could be worth $4.5 trillion in large business supports. Now, I think because of that, big businesses are well taken care of, and I think, as I said before, that individuals are well taken care of in this, at least for this next 4 months. But I think small businesses are still going to have a rough go. These are great programs. I'm just not sure it was fast enough to save most small businesses, and I'm not sure it's enough to save the number of small businesses that are going to be affected by this. So my initial take is that this is a good beginning program. I expect that this sets businesses up for a recovery in late 2020, early 2021. And we will see other programs that will support an expansion or a return to expansion in mid-2021 and into late 2021 and early 2022. As always, thanks very much for listening. I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions about how the CARES Act might affect your portfolio or your business, please do give us a call, and we'll spend some time with you and see if we can't help either direct you to the right SBA program, or at the same time, maybe just answer some questions about your personal financial plan. Thank you. Talk to you soon.